Assalamu guys, if I'm back again with another video, and this video is about searchable drop-down list. We have already done a couple of videos on how to do drop-down lists in Excel, but a question was asked in one of the groups on Facebook as to how can you make the drop-down list searchable. For example, if you have, say, 100 or 200 options available in the drop-down list, it becomes a little difficult to scroll up or down and find the one that you're looking for. And so if there's a way that we could make it searchable, and that's what this video is about. Okay, so let's get started. So what I have here is this sheet here. This has what I did was I went to a job site website and downloaded a bunch of job titles. Okay, so we have 1186 job titles. Now, if I were to use that in a drop-down list, you can just understand how difficult it's going to be to find the one that you're looking for. Secondly, this is not alphabetically sorted, so it makes it even more difficult, right? So the method that we are going to be using today, it's automatically going to sort the list items for you. If you delete or add the items in it, it will automatically sort it for you. And also what it'll do is it will make it searchable, so you could narrow down the options that are being displayed, right? So let's get started. So this column here is the job title. So we'll be creating two more helper columns. Okay, I'll call this found yes or no, and I'll call this empty yes or no, right? And let's just put draw a border around it. All right, there you go. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this into a table. Now the way you do that is you position your cursor anywhere on this table like this, and hit Control T for Tom, and it will sense that the first row, how many columns the first row and have, and then it will figure out, it will assume that that's the width of the table that you're looking for. So if I hit Control T, since because this is my active cells is part of that cell, the table, I'm sorry. Now see, it took the first three columns because that's how many columns if you find with the first row, which is not the columns in the first row which are not empty. Now what I'll also do is I also check this box. It says my table has headers, so the first line would be headings, and hit OK. And what Excel does is it automatically formats it for you. Each alternate line is colored differently, so it makes it easier to read. Right now, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and put in a formula here. Now, what this is doing is in this, let's see, this guy here. Let's color this yellow, and let's be a little wider. Let's assume this is where the drop down is going to be. Okay, the E4 cell. Now what we're going to do is we're going to see if whatever text is in the E4, if it's found within this first entry and then found within the second entry, and so on and so forth. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll use the search function. Search, it says find text. What are we looking for? We're looking for this guy here, whatever's in this cell. And I'm going to lock this down, the rows and the columns, by hitting F4. What that will do is put dollar signs in front of the E and the 4. What that does is it fixes it, and then when I copy paste the formula down this row, this E4 will not become E5 and E6 and so on and so forth, right? And what are we looking? Where are we looking for? Within which text? Within A2. And hit enter. See how it automatically filled it down? Okay. Now, what it does is, uh, if it's blank, then it's going to give you a 1. Now, let's see if I were to put net here. Now, you see what happened? All the rest have an error because the search was, the function did not return anything, was not able to find the letters NET in hairdresser and cosmetologist, was not able to find it in industrial equipment and maintenance, but was able to find it in network system analyst, the NET. So what we need to do is we need to clean this up using an if error. And what we'll do is returns value if error is expression is an error, and the value of the expression if it's otherwise. So if there is no error, we'll use this value, whatever this value returns, and if it is an error, we'll give it a 0. So now this guy here gives you a 1, but all the rest are zeros. Now what we need to do is we'll need to convert this 0 into a space, because it's a 0, we'll make all the zeros into a space, and all the ones, wherever you see a 1, we'll have to replace it with whatever is on the left hand side. So the way we do that is put another if this whole expression is not 0, then A2, otherwise it's a blank. And you see how it made everything blank but left this as it is. Okay. Now, in this empty column, what we'll do is we'll do another if statement here. If B2, that's this cell here, is not blank, then it's filled in, otherwise it's empty. Okay, so you see where you have this, it says filled in, where everywhere else it says empty. Now, what are the options for NET? Okay, so I'm just going to filter out the blanks, which is, let's show you 3 options that have 3 job titles basically that have NET. So network has this NET at the beginning. Cabinet maker, so cabinet NET, and the network administrator NET. So it says filled in, and the rest it shows empty. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we've got the original list here. We've got this to show us that whatever is on the job title is, if it finds whatever text is in this search bar, which will end up being a drop down, and if it's not found, then just make it blank, and if it's found, make this, copy this over here and make this filled, and if it's not found, keep it blank and make this empty. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a pivot table over here using whatever in this table here. Okay, so I just position my mouse at my anyway on this table, and just hit click on it, so the active cell is within this table. And the reason why we did this table, first of all, it auto copies the formulas down. As you insert rows, it will auto copy the formula. Secondly, when you use this as input for a pivot table, as you increase the lines, the pivot table, the data range for the pivot table automatically expands. So that's the I've done a video on that too. So I would urge you to go and see how to do expanding pivot tables. Okay, so pivot table, that's the range. I'm going to put it in the existing worksheet, and let's just put it over here. Okay, and hit OK, and now it's giving me an option. Okay, now in this table, what we're going to do is found was this column here. So I'm going to bring this down to the rows. Okay, and this empty, I'm going to use this as a filter for the pivot, and close this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to design, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the grand totals and also turn off the subtotals. Okay, and I want it in a tabular form, and I really don't care for colors, so let's just get rid of that colors. All right, now what we need to do is we need to get rid of the empty row here. Okay, that's all these empty rows are showing up as a single row. That's what the pivot table does. It shows each entry only once. And so in this pivot, in this filter, what we'll do is we'll uncheck the empty and only leave the filled as checked, and hit OK. And now you see only the three options are going to show. And now what we'll do is we'll also have the pivot table sort. Okay, now uh, if I were to, no, let's wait. Let's actually finish this. Oh no, let's do this. When I change this, I say for example I put metal. Okay, now you see it's still showing the same options here. So what we need to do is we need to right click on the pivot table and click on refresh, and now it will show you all the uh, the job titles which have metal word showing up. But you don't want to be doing a right click and refresh every time. You want the system to be refreshing itself. You want Excel to refresh this pivot table automatically. So what we'll do is we'll put in a one-line code of Visual Basic, go into developer, which will, whenever there's a change here, it will automatically go and update the pivot table. Okay, so developer, Visual Basic, and we have the drop down list, and pull this down here, worksheet, this workbook dot refresh all. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this as a macro enabled workbook. Okay, and now let's make this bigger. And macros have been disabled. Let's enable the macros. There you go. Now, whenever I make a change here, let's do the net again, enter. This pivot table would refresh automatically. Okay. Now, this pivot table is what I will use for my drop-down list. Right? Let's see how we will do that. Now, like I said, I have done this in another video of where we did a drop-down list. So, if you see, drop-downs are coming from the first line is E4. Okay, so that's what we'll use. I'm just going to get rid of this here. Go to Data tab, Data Validation, List, and in this list, I'll use the offset function, offset, okay, $E, $4, that's the first row of the pivot table. It's not going to go across one or down one as a starting. It's not going to offset the starting. And now the height would be all the letters, all the number of rows that are there in the pivot table, and the pivot table was on. Actually, hold on a second. What we need to do is we need to actually click here so we get the sheet numbers attached to it, and Come back here. All right. Now, see how it actually the job titles is referring to the sheet. Now, what this does it counts how many non-blank you have, but you have this as non-blank and you have this as non-blank. So what you want to do is you want to subtract 2 from this to get rid of the headings. And how wide is going to be? 1 column wide. Okay. And you need to go to the error alert, and uncheck this and click on OK. All right. Now, if this is blank, so if you put this down, it's showing you all the options that you have. Okay. And because we had, if we go back to this sheet here, because we had the pivot tables do a sort, even though these are not sorted, the drop down list shows it as sorted. Okay, as per sorted. Now, say for example, you type in net, hit enter, and then you click on the cell again, and now because of the pivot, because what happened was this pivot table got refreshed. Now this is what's being used as the input or as the options available in the drop down. If you come here, click down, and that's the only option you see. Okay, that's only 3 options you see. All the other get hidden. Let's put in, say for example, metal. Now, when you put it down, you see the only option that you see are the ones that have metal word showing up in them. Okay, so in this you have metal. So in this 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In fact, in 6 job titles you have metal word coming at the beginning, and in these 2 you have metal word coming in the middle. Okay, so now you see how easy it is. Now instead of 1,186 job titles, you only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to choose from if you're looking at the word metal. And if you're the word that you're looking for is the word net, now the only options available are 3. Okay, let's do some other one. Let's see, aircraft. Let's do aircraft. Hit enter, and now only the ones with aircraft are going to show up. So that's how basically you can do a drop-down list that's actually searchable, and using you type ahead, hit enter, and then you go back to the cell and pull it down the drop-down list, and now the only options available to you would be what you have typed in before. Okay, now I have blanked this out, and now all of a sudden all the options are showing up. Okay. And now you see, like I said, if you were looking at aircraft, all the job titles that have aircraft in it, you can just imagine how difficult it's going to be, that you have to scroll down and find the word aircraft, and then pick then select the one from there. Now, if you just typing air, that would pick aircraft also. And now, if you go in here, see, you got air crew member, air crew officer, air traffic control, aircraft assembler, aircraft body, aircraft cargo, aircraft engine, aircraft launch, aircraft specialist, launch specialist, aircraft mechanic, aircraft rigging, aircraft structure, operations, mechanic, airline pilot, appliance. That's because AIR. AIR. Okay? It's the letters AIR, it can also be within a word itself. Okay, so see how easy it is now to do this. Now, if I were to blank this out and hit enter, and now it will show me all the options available, all the 1186 options. So that's basically how you would do a drop-down list that's searchable. If you like this video, please kindly give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to see more videos like this, please subscribe. Thank you.